Peace, world. What is going on? Happy Friday. Welcome to another Substantial Weekly. As you can see, slightly different setup today. Didn't want to set up the studio the way I normally do, which normally has my back in that direction. So a slightly different background. But yeah, man, still same show. You know what I mean? Slightly different look. Just wanted to kind of get to it a bit quicker today. Lot going on, but peace everybody. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and all that good stuff, man. Super shout out to the homies in the chat already. Clap it up for y'all. Kais, what up? Kevin Savio in the building, my man Soul Tiger, and the homie Warpath as well. Shout out to those of you in the chat already. Shout out to everyone else watching at home or wherever in the world you are. Give thanks for another Friday, man. It's been a lot happening in the world. And yeah, man, just grateful as always to be able to spend some time, put some good vibes out there, man, to balance all the craziness as well. So, you know, give thanks for another Friday, man. And shout out to y'all for joining me. So today's show won't be a super long one. I know last week we were rocking for about twice as long as the normal length of the show. But the reason why I got to keep it short today, there is an event happening in our region over at George Mason University. They have like this event that celebrates like all things, you know, anime and gaming and all of that. I think it's more gaming focused. So I'm going to pop in real quick to check that out, do some networking, support the homies who are going to be there and all that good stuff. So so if you're in DMV and you are at George Mason University, be sure to check out that event. And the name is slipping my mind right now. I got it in my phone. I'll try to bring it up before before I jump off today. But yeah, man. What was it? So a couple things we're going to cover today. Number one, we're going to talk about, you know, the fact that there is a lot of new music that I have in the queue, ready to share with y'all very soon. So definitely super, super excited about that. And then also, man, what else? Other than the new music, me and Marcus D have been hard at work to, make this tour of Europe happen next year. It's not going to be a super long tour. We're like maybe looking at being there for a week. The last time we were there for a good almost a month. And we learned a lot by doing a tour that long. And so we're definitely excited to be going back to Europe. And we're currently in talks with a couple different cities already. One that we already have a solidified date for. Another we have a soft date, but it's we're still working out the final details. So the tour is probably gonna be roughly at least 4 dates, possibly more. But like I said, we're only going to be there a week tops. So we're looking at like a 3 to 4 date situation for sure. Correction, we're looking at a 4 to 5 date situation for sure. 3 at the absolute minimum, but we'll see, man. So definitely a lot going on. Let's get to these comments first, though, and try to close some stuff just to make sure we're flowing smooth in the background. Also, you may have noticed too that we do have a goal for today. Today's goal is to hit 5 super chats via YouTube, but also if you donate via Cash App, if you donate via Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, just let me know. I'll confirm, and that will count toward our goal. And yeah, man, you get to hear some new music today. One of the songs that we'll talk about in a bit, that I played for you all a while ago, is dropping really soon. So we'll talk about that in a few. And then we also have, what's it called? The one I'm gonna play today, literally just got recorded yesterday. Shout out to that homie AJ Rios and stuff. So if we hit our goal today, I'll give y'all a sneak peek of that. At least playing my verse, maybe more. Hey, man, wasting no time, man. Shout out to the homie Warpath, man. I appreciate your contribution. Yeah, you are greatly appreciated, sir. But let's go to these other comments. See what I missed. Don't forget to hit that like. Yeah, man, definitely. Man, listen. More than ever, I think, we have to be hyper aware of what we're consuming, right? If you're here, I don't have to convince you why it's good to hang around here. You know what I mean? You're here because you enjoy the vibe, you enjoy the music I make, a long list of or short list of other things or whatever. You love the community that we have here. There's a lot of good reasons to kind of come hang out like for an hour or two on a Friday with us. You know what I mean? Also, like mainly because, man, it's really, really easy right now to get sucked into all the worst things that that's going on. And I want to be clear. I'm never going to tell you that you should completely ignore or disregard any of these things that's happening in the world. And I don't want to come off as this dude that's always positive. I know that y'all, those of you who know me well, know that like I might lead with good vibes, positivity, and things like that. But I don't pretend like bad shit doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So, but I do think it's super important for those of us who are aware of the amount of negativity, the amount of evil, the amount of just tragic shit that gets shoved down our throats and like put in front of us every day. There's a lack of real balance. You know what I mean? And I know y'all feel it. So I'm not going to try to convince you. But what my objective has always been is just to add some balance, fam. It's not to ignore or disregard these things. It's just to remind folks that, hey, man, yes, there are horrible things happening in the world. And some will argue, yeah, these things need all of our attention. They need blah, 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 this, that, and the third. Yes, if you're about that life and you are really putting in some significant work and you're consistent with said work to create real change, then yes, it needs your attention, right? And bare minimum, if you're a person who isn't all of that, bare minimum, you should at least be aware. But being aware being aware of what's happening doesn't always require you to be like, oh man, there's no just fucking worry about right or wrong way to say it. Like, everyone's opinion, like, yeah, I've definitely learned that everyone's opinion and thoughts are not needed in real time. I think that a lot more discernment, a lot more reflection, a lot more thought into what it is you're feeling and how that's affecting you. And then also how that's going to affect their, like, there's a lot of things that people are not doing that people clearly need to be doing a lot more of. You know what I mean? But I feel like some of us are so starved of attention that, like, if this is the only way I can get it, so be it. But yeah, man, it's ugly out here, fam. It's ugly out here. And I'm just grateful that I'm still in the midst of all of this crazy stuff. Like, I'm still mostly surrounded by love. You know what I mean? And any of us who are here right now who can say the same, yo, you're blessed. That's an amazing blessing. And for those of us who aren't, I'm definitely sorry to hear that. And obviously there's only so much I can do, but I think there needs to be a lot of reflection on what it is what it is you're doing day to day, what it is we're all doing day to day to, like, build up community around us, not just for the sake of doing it, but like for our mental well-being, our physical well-being. And just to remind people that, like, what is it we're really fighting for, right? Like, if you're at the end of the day, you remember that you're really fighting for peace of mind, safety, and most importantly, love. Like, you need to be reminding yourself every day of that, because I'm seeing a lot of people who believe they're on the right side of history that are definitely not leading with love. Definitely. And I don't want to be one of these both sides people, but yeah, man, some of the takes, even when some folks are right and I agree with them, I'm just like, yo, how you're presenting it is trash though, fam. Like, I definitely don't need that energy. You know what I mean? And maybe someone else does or whatever to be motivated to do the work, but I don't. So yeah, man, I'm just gonna remind everybody, yo, like, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Really think twice about, remember what it is you're truly fighting for, and think twice if every opinion, everything you're sharing is really necessary, right? And then figure out the energy that you could be wasting on that, getting in fights with people who truly don't care about progress in any form or anything that deals with your community. Think about where you can redirect that energy to create real change or create push anything forward in the direction you feel it needs to, because there's always other things you could be doing. And I just feel like folks aren't doing enough of that. A lot of folks want to be heard, but they ain't saying shit. They really aren't, man. They're just regurgitating the same stuff that they're seeing somewhere else. And without putting any meaningful action behind what it is they are feeling. So yeah, man, I don't know what else to say to y'all other than that. It's just like, yeah, man, just trying to do what I always do and spread love, lead with love first and foremost, man, and remember why we're fighting. I know it's easier for me to remember what it is I'm fighting for because they're in the room with me. They're in my home with me every day, and I think a lot of us who live alone, our only sense of connection sometimes is via the internet. And considering how that experience is now curated, right? How these algorithms will dictate what it is you consume. And a lot of people, like, again, a lack of discernment, a lack of us really kind of doing checks and balances on why we're seeing what we're seeing. And yeah, man, like I found this video this morning that was like super inspirational, super positive, super like making some great points, really, and all of that. And then I took a minute and I was just like, man, this is a well-known person saying some amazing stuff. And this person has never struck me as the type of person who just did private recordings. Because this, like, the caliber of this person, this is a person that's from a certain era. I'm like, man, the quality of these vocals are pristine, right? So the audio engineer in me was like, that's odd. Like, no one in the audience. They just went in the studio and recorded this. Considering what era they came up in, this doesn't feel right. And so, sure enough, I dig a little bit deeper. And keep in mind, I'm loving what's being said. I'm loving what's being said, but like 5 minutes in, I was like, nah, something's not right. And sure enough, it's AI. It was AI created. And it's just weird because in this case, this is someone trying to use it for good, but I still got to question, like, what is your motivation? Like, this person has said more than enough great things where we can use real audio from them. And we don't have to recreate anything for them because they've lived a certain life and we know that this is a solid person. So just give me the real recordings. Why do I need you to come up with some script and then use AI to make their voice say it? And you pull a couple images, like, yo, it was again, like, this is one of those examples of people, even the folks who have well intentions, are making poor decisions right now. Very, like, yo, it's wild to see. It's wild to see. And but so I can't stress it to everyone enough to really, really really take your time, not be so reactive, right? Not live in a paranoid state. Like, try to really, really tap into, like, hopefully, for those of us, like, with a solid education, those of us who've been raised by, like, intelligent people who really, really, like, genuinely want what's best for you and this world, right? To really was it in the military or other places, they were like, remember your training, yo. So, like, I'm trying to remember and really tap into all of the gems that people have given me over the years, like, not just like online, but more importantly, face to face, and from people who I knew genuinely loved me. And I remember my training, remember those gems and stuff like that. And remember what it is we're fighting for. Remember what it is we're pushing for every day. You know what I mean? But let's get to the chat real quick. Can't wait to hear it, bro. Several of your songs have been on my repeat playlist on Spotify, especially Reed Richards. Yo, man, thank you so much, man. We're going to have a conversation, too, about streaming. It's just been a lot of things happening on the business side of the streaming world that has been really making me think about what the path forward looks like and how much longer I'm going to remain on streaming platforms. Some of my music, a lot of the features and stuff, things I can't control will always be on those platforms because, I don't own certain songs, you know what I mean? But yeah, there are some concerning things happening in the industry. And that's the craziest part about where we are. Like, we all got to walk and chew gum, right? Like, I can't be so hyper focused on certain aspects of what's happening and what's wrong with the world that I'm forgetting that, oh yeah, I got a whole career and there are things happening in my industry that are very suspect. Very suspect. And I ain't trying to get caught out here, without, being as knowledgeable as possible of these changes and how that's going to affect my legacy long term, in terms of you know, not just the impact and reach of my music, but also got to consider like how that affects the bottom line, right? Like how that affects the financial side, because I'm an artist that owns like over 90+% of my catalog. You know, certain changes in the industry that literally affect what my streaming looks like, that impacts my family, right? That impacts them long term. And what my catalog in general, what the overall value of it is, that impacts how I provide. So yo, it's a lot happening, man. It's, as Justin Hunt would say, it's all happening. It's all happening. Let's get back to the comments. So thanks for reminding me, Soul Tiger. All right. Move Wonderling. Peace. What up, nephew? Good to see you up in here. Just talked to your mom the other day. All right. I've been trying to use social media less and protect my peace, you know. Swaggy. Yo, 1,000%. 1,000%, man. Like, you know, been having some real conversations with my wife about what our future is, what our family's future looks like, and how we move going forward. And just reminding everybody in this, I know I'm a talkative person, but if y'all have really been paying attention to me on social media, I'm not posting as much as I used to, right? Like, I'm really like, a lot of the plans that I have, folks don't need to know until they need to know. And certain opinions I have on certain things, like, I don't need to share them on certain platforms. What I need to do is make sure that how I spend my money reflects how I feel about these things. What I need to do is make sure that how I feel about things that are happening, when it's time to vote on all levels, that is reflected. When I'm going to teach in these different spaces and stuff, all like, it's still what it is. And most importantly, making sure that my business is straight, because I don't work for anybody, right? Like, I don't work for anybody, which means that no one can come along and fire me for saying shit. So, but even then, because, like, you know, I don't want anybody to ever get it fucked up. Please don't ever get it messed up thinking that you don't see me commenting on everything because I don't have thoughts and feelings on it, or I'm scared of what's going to happen to me. What I understand is that there is strength in not broadcasting every move I make. And so if you have the ability to do certain things, you have certain funds that can be invested in certain ways, you can put your time and energy in certain places, and you ain't got to post about it and stuff like that, man. And I can just have like one-on-one meaningful conversations with people who I know respect me as a human being, but most importantly will take information I'm providing them and act on it in a real way. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. I quote Uncle G, man. My Uncle George would say, I'm not worried about what anybody else is going to do as long as I know what I'm going to do. So, yeah, man, just, you know. Anyway, so true, real talk. Appreciate you, brother. 100 is truly getting scary out here, but the vibes here always give me a little bit of peace of mind and improves my mood. Man, I'm happy to hear that, brother. That's real talk on the attention-seeking part. Just because you have an internet connection and an uninformed opinion don't mean we need to hear it. Yo, man, super real. Zully, hey, I hope you're still here. Sorry for the late response, but hello and welcome. All right. I'm behind, but I agree with you on balancing the tragic with the good, because it can overwhelm us. We can overwhelm ourselves. That's real, man. And like when we are like, yo, when we fall into despair, when we fall into hopelessness, when we fall into this space of not, you know, man, like not being able to function at our highest level because, like, yo, we're just going down this rabbit hole of negativity and like, yo, to the point where we can't even appreciate the good around us, right? That doesn't help us. That doesn't help our cause either, because in those moments, I think that's the easiest time to lose sight of what it is we're fighting for, right? You know, Peace. What's going on, fam? Substantial and Nujabes. Yes, indeed. Rest in peace to my brother Nujabes. All right. Nice afro. Peace, family. Good to see you up in here. I'll always buy your new stuff. It's just easier for me to consistently listen and switch around through streaming. Oh, yeah, man. I get it. I get it. That's why I haven't really kind of been one of these people that just like, yo, I'm taking all my music down off the thing. Part of the power of the streaming platforms is the reach, right? The amount of people I can reach. Because look, if we're being real, the days of me selling thousands and thousands of copies of my music, that's just not where we are anymore, right? So the reality of it is every time I release something, I sell several hundred copies of what I release, right? Occasionally maybe reaching like 1,000 plus, right? But more times than not, it's roughly like a couple hundred copies. So where my energy is focused now is producing the highest quality stuff I can make as an indie artist. And then for the physical merchandise, also, again, creating like unique things, like interesting designs, like high quality physical merchandise. So that way, when it comes with a premium price, which may feel like it's higher than what you're seeing some of the other stuff, the argument can always be made. It was like, yeah, but this isn't something mass produced at a really cheap level. This is something where only several hundred physical copies of this thing exist, right? And those that exist are like, like they don't look like just another indie artist stuff. It doesn't look like everything that's out here. Like you can look at it, touch it, and realize like, oh no, this is good quality stuff. So I keep that in mind whenever I'm doing anything, because I recognize it's like, yo, if you're it's basically operating with like a boutique mindset, right? Like this ain't Walmart over here, fam. Like this is the little joint in your local mall that when you go in, like you don't go in there often because it's like, yo, like it can cost you a bit more than what it costs to shop over there. But that's for a lot of different reasons. It's because one, I'm not selling everything. I do a very specific thing. And even in that lane, like there's still some diversity, but I have a unique set of skills, right? Like I have very specific skills, and I'm hyper focused on giving you the best version of that. And like I am not going to cheapen what I do so just to reach more people. That's not where I'm at. So again, like I'm trying my best to kind of hold on and stick with the streaming thing. But for those who don't know, there are terms or whatever that are changing, like with a lot of distributors. And this isn't new. This thing has been happening for a few years now, where it's allowing fans to basically legally remix our music, right? Like, so some of these apps are planning to move toward things that allow you to make an acapella of my stuff and then put it over somebody's music. But now keep in mind, while that sounds cool on the surface, the problem is like, how does that impact the splits, right? Like we're already on some of these platforms getting less than a penny per play. And when I say less than a penny, I don't mean like 99.99. I mean literally like it's less than a quarter, less than a third or less than a quarter of a penny per play, depending on the platform. So that being said, when folks have the ability to do this and they start to alter the things, number one, we don't get final approval of if we like it, because let's say not only can they make it, but then they can share it and they can post it on these different playlists and say that version of the song becomes more popular than your actual original. And on top of that, because they spliced it with some other person's music, now what you were getting before has been cut down even more so. So you're getting less, and something is being promoted that you didn't even get to sign off on and maybe don't like at all. Because sometimes when people remix stuff, the timing's off. There's all of these other issues. Maybe they take your stuff and add it to something that has messages in it that you don't rock with, or maybe it's an artist that you don't rock with and don't want to be associated with at all. There's so many variables. So while on the surface it might seem cool, it's really problematic because, you know, it's basically it's altering our art in ways that don't allow us to be involved in that process. And by default, some folks, because of the distributors they're with, you get automatically opted into it, right? So one of the conversations I had when I met with Congress a while ago, when we were talking about different changes that were happening in the music industry, one of the things they were talking about was AI. And so when we were talking about AI, they were the congressman that we met with. He suggested to us. He was like, "Well, what if it was something where you all could be automatically opted in? So then that way, you know, you guaranteed to get something. Would that be all right?" And I could see some of my associates like contemplating, and I jumped in real quick because of the associates of mine that were there. I was the only musician. Like, though the other two people that were there, they work in the music industry, but they don't make actual music. And so the first thing I said was, hell no, I don't want to be automatically opted into anything. There's a conversation that needs to happen, right? And part of that is because, and I was like, listen, it may sound like an egotistical musician, but it's really coming from this place. When it comes to sampling, there is no flat rate, right? There's no flat rate that artists pay or whatever to sample anything. That's not how it works unless you're using like something like Splice. But if I hit up a musician whose song I really like and I have this great idea on how I can manipulate it, if I hit them up, there is no precedence for like, there's nothing that says that, hey, they can only charge me up to this much and I can only pay as little as this much. The scale is infinite, right? They could hit me with the Lou Reed joint where what happened with Tribe Called Quest, where Tribe Called Quest doesn't make anything from Can I Kick It? You know, so like, and what's wild about that is he's not the only person they sample for that one song. But part of the deal he was able to negotiate, you know what I mean? Like, they don't collect. So, you know, I told them in that moment, I was just like, man, if a company wants to sample or utilize my music or voice to train, you know, their technology and stuff like that, I don't want this flat rate that, like, quote unquote, everyone gets. I want to be able to sit at the table and know exactly why did, you know, considering I'm not the biggest artist in the world, why are you interested in using my stuff? And I would like to be able to understand what is the logic behind that, because oftentimes that information allows me to adjust my rate, right? Like, it's the same thing that happens with shows, for example, and this is going to be a nice segue. Right now we're talking to different promoters about you know, what our rate is to be booked, right? Me and Marcus. And some of them are getting back and being like, yeah, nah, we can't do that. And that's fine, because they come back with a different thing, and then we decide to accept that or not. But there are other instances where it's significantly less than what we've gotten. And then they justify it by saying, well, hey, in this particular market, people don't know you as well. I'm like, hey, that makes a lot of sense business wise. But I know what my value is in other markets. So it doesn't make sense for me as a grown man to go to a place that is literally a 10-hour flight or an 8-hour flight away from where I'm at, even if I'm already on that continent. This is still very far away from where I am. I still got to pay for food. Like, you know, if you're not covering, I still got to pay for a hotel. I got to pay for internal travel, like within that country. You know, if folks aren't picking me up, I still have a lot of fees. And I'm not doing all of that to break even. Nah. Been doing this a very long time. That is poor business, right? So I'm not going to let some company kind of swoop in and then try to downplay what I do in one way, try to downplay what it is I offer as an artist. But in the same respect, they came to me. If I didn't reach out to you to do anything, but you come to me and then instantly try to downplay what it is I do, That's not going to work, because as to you, maybe you didn't know who I was until you just randomly discovered it or whatever, but you thought it'd be good to do whatever it is you want to do. I wasn't thinking about you at all. I also don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? And most importantly, whether I work with you or not, how much I make or how much more I make oftentimes won't be impacted by a lot of these things I say no to when they try to undercut me and not pay me what I know my value is. You know what I mean? So, yo, it's a slippery slope, man. It's really one of those things that if my kids wanted to be professional musicians, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I wouldn't be supportive, but yeah, I just have a real, super real talk with them. Like, yeah, this is what you need to know, because everybody ain't talking about these ugly parts of this business, you know. But yeah, man. All right, let's get to some of these comments. I'm running my jibs. All right. It's always been live and let live. Word. Reminds me of the song Enjoy Yourself. Shout out to Marcus D. Is this why some of the stuff on Apple Music is being messed with? Fam, I'm still trying to figure that out. I gotta follow up with my distributor to see why certain things aren't on Apple Music right now. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm trying to figure that out in real time. Yeah, I don't even make music, but that sounds like some BS. I wouldn't be down with that either. Yeah, man. Hey, Happy Mochi, what up, sis? All right. Good morning, fam. Blessed Friday to everybody. Back at you. Never knew about Tribe Called Quest. Didn't know that they didn't get nothing out of it as far as royalties because of that judgment. Yo, it's wild, man. Like some of this stuff. Another song. Shout out to what's the joint? Tariq and Peter Guns. What's the joint? If it wasn't for the Bronx, this rap wouldn't even be going on. So tell me where you from, Uptown, baby. That joint. That's another situation. In their case, they didn't clear the sample ahead of time. So when they were taken to court, literally the band, I think it was Steely Dan that they sampled. Like, yeah, they also don't get anything. Like, you know, Tariq, Peter Guns, like they don't get anything. They don't get anything from that joint. And so yeah, man, it's like it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope with the sampling stuff. So I'm just telling people, like, this is something that you got to keep in mind as you're negotiating what it's going to look like for you going forward as an artist, knowing that this industry has not been set up for artists to thrive, like the vast majority of artists to thrive. It's really like, you know, it's dog eat dog out here, man. And so what you got to learn is that if they aren't in these situations where you were sampling stuff and didn't have the money to clear it, and you were still putting stuff out and doing, you know, which oftentimes gets treated like you're doing something malicious and you're trying to take advantage of a situation, and, you know, all these things. If you're doing that and they're literally trying to go in on you, make sure that you don't get nothing, take ownership of the track, do all these things. But then the flip side of that is when folks come to you, they're trying to play you like they don't need or want what it is you do, and they don't want to give you like anything, or like hard, like they want to give you the least, right? And so a real conversation I had with people who worked at Deezer, when they were talking to me about certain things, and they were like, yeah, you know, you could just do more of this and maybe promote blah blah blah, send more artists to. I was like, sir, unlike you, I don't work for your company. I don't work for y'all. Now, yes, people go to the platform to listen to my music, but that, and sure, y'all pay out a certain amount, but like the type of work that you're talking about, I should put in is the equivalent of bare minimum a part-time job. And even in that situation, with a piss poor hourly rate that is under minimum wage, it's still more than what I get paid out as an artist. simply, when you put it like that, simply understanding how that works, it does not make sense to put in the amount of time that you're asking me to put in to maybe make my stuff pop on your platform. Because how much time am I losing on other things I could be doing that are guaranteed? They're guaranteed ways for me to make money, right? Based on my experience. Like, I know I can get more money doing this. It's less work, and I'm gonna make more money long term, right? Doing specific things. So yeah, I'm not doing what you're asking. And what I told him is, I was like, what you're asking me to do makes sense for y'all because it's free promotion for you. Like, like you're having to spend less on promotion because artists are doing the work for you. And I just find it interesting, a person who's literally a salary employee telling me to do this stuff, that, y'all got a lot of people here. Y'all could be doing more, right? And the perfect example I gave him, I was like, you got this playlist, this playlist, this playlist. And globally, I am directly associated with that artist, and this particular sound that you have on the joint, right? I know this because outside of your platform, I have more followers, right? And more people actually know who I am than most of the people like that you have in this particular playlist. And I'm a verifiable real person. But that's not where y'all putting y'all energy in, when literally it doesn't take you that much time to figure it out. Couple quick Google searches. But for whatever reason, I'm not on these playlists. Cool. But what you're not about to make me do is pivot my time and energy in a way that serves you, and it's getting me, it might make me more money. It's not definitely going to make me more. It might make me more money, but that's if you're feeling generous and decide to do it. And I can't operate off of mites. I know what's going to happen over here when I do certain things, because I have actual tangible evidence that shows me when I do these things, I make more money, right? And so it may not serve me in other ways, but long term is part of the reason why I'm able to make what I make and not be the most popular artist and still make more than a lot of artists who are far more popular than me. So, y'all, it's just business decisions, man. Like, you got to do what makes sense for you. Anyway, all right, let's just a reminder, we only have one super chat donation. No pressure, just letting y'all know. And the hour's going to be up soon, which means that if we don't hit the goal, no new track, you know what I mean? But just a reminder of the new music that's coming. The song that I played for y'all a while ago with P.R. That track is about to drop very soon, I think within a week or so. And then I got a track that I was planning to play for y'all if we hit the goal. That is a track with me, AJ Rios, dope producer. If you're not familiar, if you heard Adultus 2.0, then you already heard his stuff. He's super dope. But yeah, man, you would get a sample of that. This is literally something I just recorded yesterday. So if y'all are interested, we still got a few minutes left to hit our goal for the day. And again, if you donate to another platform, just let me know. And so I can just confirm, and I will count that toward the goal of the day. I'm just double checking, make sure I ain't miss anything. Boop, bap, boop, boop. Yeah, man. So keeping it pushing. Hold up. So real quick, just talking about Europe again. So as of right now, the two countries that we are in talks with, where one we just got a date confirmed. One is Spain. I'll let y'all know what city, like when we get a bit closer. But yeah, it looks like next year in 2026, I will be going to Spain with Marcus D to perform. God willing, of course, the rest of the stuff with the tour has to come together. But yeah, man. And then we are also in talk with the homies out in Rennes, France, too. So it looks like we're definitely heading to those two countries, France and Spain. Well, definitely Spain. Rennes, France is a little further along, not as far along in the process. There we go. But we are working on it. Our goal is to definitely get to Paris and to definitely get to London, because those are the two places where we have the largest audiences. So we will keep y'all posted as things develop with that. Those of you who are from like France or from the UK, if you watch this, if you're here now or you watch this later, I need you to chime in the comments. I definitely need my people who are in France and the UK to start getting a lot more vocal around these parts, because there is a chance that I think France is gonna, we're definitely gonna have something there, but there is a chance that with the UK, if we don't find a promoter sooner than later, that the only other option would be for me to book it myself, which means like pay for a venue out of pocket, and I mean, the benefit is we get those ticket sales and stuff like that. We cut off the middleman. But in order for that to work, got to be talking directly to the fans on the ground out there, the people who would potentially come to see this show, and maybe some of you who are in other countries that would make the trip. So again, if you're from the UK, if you're from France, and you're interested in seeing us do our thing out there, definitely get more active. Let us know in the comments and stuff so we can build together. All right. Soul Tiger says, P.R.A. Last track I heard from P.R. was with you and Sky Zoo. It was a great track. Yes, sir. Yeah, the new one is really dope, man. I just I played it for AJ yesterday when he was here in the studio, and I played it for you all a couple episodes back. I feel like maybe played it back in August or July, something like that. But yeah, after we hit our goal. But yeah, the track sounds amazing, man. Really excited for y'all to hear it. Planning on having any opening acts, or will you do it like you guys just did in China, in this China tour? It depends. Like, I mean, that's really going to be up to the promoters. I don't. Yeah, we're not touring with the opening act for sure. We're really just going to be kind of at the mercy of the promoters and stuff, and who they decide to bring in, or if they decide not to bring anyone in. But yeah, that's just kind of what it is right now. But I will keep y'all posted for sure. All right. But yeah, man. So it looks like we're not going to reach our goal today, which is all good. We'll just save the track maybe for next week or something like that. But I would say that if you got any questions, now's the time to ask before I get out of here, because I told you today the main thing was just giving you heads up on the new music that's coming. Also recorded a new Bop Alloy joint yesterday. Oh no, day before yesterday, and working toward finalizing like the last track on the project. We had a guest that we were waiting on that it looked like might not be coming through. So just means I got to write an extra verse, which I ain't never had a problem with. So figuring that out and then moving on from there. All right, but yeah, man, if there are no questions, I'm gonna go ahead head out. Appreciate y'all, man. I hope y'all have an amazing weekend, all that good stuff. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Ooh, great one, man. Who you got winning the WNBA championship? Yeah, the safe bet is Minnesota, man. I really, really like Minnesota. Last season when they came to DC and put the pause on the Mystics. I was telling the missus, man, I was like, yeah, these girls no joke. Like, these women are no joke. Napheesa Collier is the truth. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if anyone has enough momentum and skill, like if anyone else is deep enough to really deal with Minnesota deep into the playoffs. That's what I'm gonna say. So if I'm putting money on it, you know what I mean? If I was putting money, I would love to see the Lynx get it. I just feel like last year they kind of got robbed. The officiating was hard, and yeah, man, we will see, but yeah, man. So for the WNBA championship, I'm saying the Minnesota Lynx. The most honorable thing about you as an artist is that you could make infinitely more money just doing the whole nostalgic thing with Nujabes, but you don't. Always solid, and that's why we rock with you. Hey, man. Hey, bro. Joshua, I appreciate that comment more than you know. I think a lot of folks think I shy away from that stuff because I'm somehow not being like true to myself or whatever. Like, like they don't really know that, like, hey man, he's not someone I sought out because I didn't know who he was initially. He reached out to me, and when he reached out to me, his sound was already different than what I was doing at the time. And so I pivoted to make that stuff with him. Now, from a business standpoint, absolutely, you're right. If I just made that stuff, like rinse and repeat, just made that, I'd make significantly more money. And what's funny is people wouldn't view me as a sellout. They think I'm just, it's like, nah, man, he's staying true to his roots, blah, blah, blah. And technically, that is a part of my beginnings and stuff like that. But yeah, man, like, I was just having this conversation with AJ. The stuff I really want to do, like, I was talking to this one producer yesterday. I won't say his name until something happens. I'm talking to this one producer, like, hey, fam, the stuff I really want to do is a lot more progressive. It's still like jazz centered and stuff like that, but I'm really, because, I'm just keeping it a buck, man. A lot of these dudes who rap in these lanes and stuff, I'm not worried about sounding humble or not sounding humble right now. I'm going to just be honest. I'm going to just speak to how I really feel. And not just how I feel, I would say how a lot of them feel, because they've said it to me directly, right? Like, I don't view myself as being on the same level skill-wise as some of the people in the lanes that I am oftentimes associated with. And when I say that, that's not ego, right? If we were talking about martial arts, or we were talking about an actual sport where like people had to compete to figure it out and stuff like that, like, and we were just looking at the stats and all the things, like, fam, never mind the fact that some of these people have literally said this directly to me, right? Like, they might not be out here publicly letting y'all know this, but they behind the scenes let me know all the time how they view me, versus like in terms of where my skill level is. So I just really want to do stuff that is a bit more progressive, right? Like really at the core of what jazz is and how unbound jazz can really be, and really kind of experiment and take it is a lot further than where people sometimes will allow artists to go. So yeah, man. So I'm hoping that this one brother, who's a progressive like jazz musician and producer, I'm hoping, like, he already said he's down to do something. And so I'm hoping that turns into something, because I feel like this will be one of those examples of like, this is what I've been trying to tell y'all. And I try to give little glimpses of it in my solo projects and stuff like that. And unfortunately, everybody doesn't hop on it. But yo, shout out to you, Joshua. Shout out to a lot of you here who ride with me week in and week out. Like, you recognize that, like, nah, fam, like, this is different. He's doing something different. And I'm just trying to be as true to myself as possible in my artistic journey and not box myself in. Nujabes's sound, and that sound in general, was literally throwback back then. When we were doing it then, it felt like we were returning to an older sound, which is cool in some ways. But at some point in time, when you're doing the rinse and repeat thing, just doing it over and over again, it's like, yo, now we're not talking about art anymore. We're not taking risk. We're not living up to what our core values are as artists a lot of times, which is to kind of explore, right? And at some point in time, it does feel like you're selling out, because it's just like, yo, I'm just doing the safe thing. I know this is going to make me a certain amount of money. I know if I work with these people, it's going to make me more money, versus me really jumping out there doing something very different and just doing it myself and not bringing in all the usual suspects. Like that's the safest thing I could do, which, art isn't always about playing it safe. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Were there any other names you and Marcus were thinking of when naming Bop Alloy? That's a great question. I can't remember what they were, but I knew the moment I came up with Bop Alloy, which was like the first or second name I came up with, that was like the one I was like, yo, I think this is it. But yeah, man, thank you for that question. Lex, what up? I was just talking about France. You know what I mean? You know, Paris in the house. Good to see you up in here, family. Dope producer, y'all. Like, if y'all have never checked out Lex's stuff, definitely check it out. Do you know about Dead End Hip Hop YouTube channel? Of course I do. Just a group of guys talking hip hop. They also interview guests. Yeah, I'm very familiar. I feel like in the past they might have covered like something I've done, but I'm at a place now where, like, yo, just to be real, certain people in the space, like, if they are checking for me, they're not outwardly posting to the world about it. You know what I mean? I learned a lot of times that a lot of folks are far more aware of what I'm doing behind the scenes, but don't always cover it and stuff. Not saying that is the case with them, because, you know, like, again, I haven't spoken to anybody on that team in a long time. But yeah, man, I like a lot of what they do. So salute to those brothers. But yeah, it's just a weird place that my career is in, where it's like, yo, I'm technically numbers wise doing better than I've ever done. You know, but simultaneously I get far less coverage. You know what I mean? Shout out to my man Truth from Godzilla, man. He said it while I was out in China. He was like having a rant where he was just complaining about. He was like, yo, my man out here doing these shows in Blue Note, Shanghai, and Blue Note, I think he was mentioning the Beijing joint. And he was like, meanwhile, at home, he's like, all y'all clowns make all these lists of like best artists from here, and the Substantial's never on there. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, like, you know, he was just kind of talking about that particular situation. But yo, like, I've been doing that for decades is the larger point. And so if they're talking about it from a skill standpoint, I feel like we're not being honest. I think a lot of times it comes down to what people preference is, and if you're the kind of cool they like, right? Because sometimes what you do isn't necessarily people's cup of tea. And if you are a gatekeeper, right, and somebody might be doing more numbers than some of the people on your list. I ain't saying I'm doing more numbers than most of the people on their list, but for the length of time I've been doing it, I'm definitely outdoing a portion of their list. And then literally mainstream artists from this region, when they've reached out to me, have said things like, yo, I don't understand how they do this list and your name is never on it. And these are like mainstream artists who are working with the who's who of the industry, who privately say these things to me. Yeah, it's just, you know, it is what it is, man. But I think that's why, like, there's always been a part of me that just raps like I got a chip on my shoulder, right? Like, you know what I mean? I played something for Hob, and he was like, yo, it's crazy, man. You still sound hungry. You know what I mean? And it's, yo, I love it. You know what I mean? I love rapping. But yeah, grown man sport. Yeah, man, this ain't for the faint of heart, bro. Like, no matter what I talk about, when I perform, I try to get up there and rock in a way where it's just like, if there's anybody who came up listening to a certain type of hip hop, even if I'm talking about something that maybe ain't your cup of tea, there's no doubt in your mind. It's like, yeah, I don't really rock with that type of hip hop, but yeah, nah, homie, nice though. You know what I'm saying? And that, for me, that's enough. That's enough. It's like, yeah, it's the quintessential, don't ever get it effed up. Like, yes, love, peace, positivity. Step out of line, I will body your ass with these bars. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. And yo, because I love it that much. I love it that much that, like, yo, it's just like a peaceful man who lives in your neighborhood, who's never looking for trouble, just trying to chill, enjoy life and stuff like that. But then quietly trains every day for war. You know what I mean? And for me, I'm just bearing the torch, bro. Like, I came up like appreciating people who like made very thoughtful, powerful music, but were battle tested. So it's always important. And I think the last part of that, I'll say this and then kind of move on. I was just talking about this to my homie. I was like, bro, I came up at a time where like I was getting on stages in front of people who didn't know me most of the time. Which in some cases, like when you showed up to parties, if you were trash, like you could potentially put yourself in harm's way. Like, bro, I came up in an era where they used to physically snatch dudes off the stage, right? Not just boo you. Like, they might hem your ass up. I've been in places, I've been on stages where like, yo, another crew wanted to rock, but they weren't featured. Like this happened in Connecticut one time, bro. Like this crew was mad because we were the feature and we were out of towners. And yo, we had like a 30-minute set and they like yelling whole time we rocking. And then I was just like, hey man, I ain't got nothing to do with this choice being made other than the fact that like, yo, dude like my music, came here to work. And I was like, but yo, I tell you what, since y'all want to run your mouth while we working, I was like, bro, y'all deep. And I don't mean no disrespect, but man, find the best dude in your crew, send them up to the stage. I let them spit. But after I spit, if you see that difference and you understand why I'm the headliner tonight, I'm gonna need y'all to shut the fuck up for the rest of the night. Said it just like that. It was like, bro, you welcome to come up here and help me understand why you think you should be up here and I'm not. And I don't deserve to be up here. But they paid me to travel and come up here. So let me work. But since you think you nice, let's hear it. Let's hear it. And then when the homeboy was finished, proceed to body his ass. Right back to work, bro. It was like, well, you know what I mean? It's just like, bro, that's what I came out of. So like me making these like introspective tracks and really, that's me really just trying to walk that line. But make no mistake, man, I was training for combat. And just found a way to be great at doing the other thing too, because that was the challenge that my peers always had for me, you know what I mean? To be better doing all of it. Thank you, sis. That's not ego, that's facts. You have the experience and the wisdom and the skill to do more in the space, and you know it, and they know it. I appreciate that. Thank you. Nephew says, realizing these weekly streams make for some pretty good background noises is exceptionally calming compared to the other videos I've listened to in the background. Or I appreciate you, nephew. Kevin says, I think that in the current state of hip hop, it's more about mainstream popularity than skill level. I know that what we like is subjective, but come on, man, you're a beast, man. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. Yo, I'm just trying to honor. Like for me, I'm just honoring those who really took me under their wing. Like whether it's the homies from around the way or Nujabes. Nujabes knew when Nujabes reached out to me, he knew I was a battle MC at the time. So even he like understood that like, yo, like, yeah, we can do some stuff. But yeah, part of the reason why I like you is because of this too. That's why that first album has a little bit of, it has some of that in there too. You know, I remember how excited him and Dextreme, man, rest in peace to both them brothers. I remember how excited they were when they heard me spit the substance and they read the lyrics and they were like, yo, this is, and it's crazy because I mean that's the first song on To This Union the Sun Was Born. The opening line on the joint, I'm the one you don't want to fuck with. I suggest you practice safe sex. You'll need support like Playtex from whatever I say next. Because when I'm in the feds confiscate my pen because they heard my shit's the bomb and they're scared to let me in. You poets is bogus. Getting banned for straight speaking, getting something I can't remember. It was like for inhaling the same air that I'm breathing because this rap industry ain't showing me shit that I like. I'ma start broadcasting on my own satellite. Bring it to any nigga that you consider a rapper. Anyone who got the balls to get their disc manufactured. I ain't feeling them. Why would I care if you ain't feeling me? Come back when you learn the difference between a metaphor and a simile. Not to be fucked with. Amnesia victim know that. Stop trying to chill with Jill when it's obvious you don't know Jack. Like, bro, like, I remember being in the car just getting to Japan and they start playing the beats that we had to record to and spitting that for Nujabes and Dextreme in the car. And I just see them because they're sitting in the front, I'm sitting in the back. And they're like, their heads are like this, just kind of nodding. But then as I start spitting, you see them both turn, looking at each other. And then like, they, you know, their heads not, yo, bro, I remember, man, like, so I always love the fact that people I've worked with have appreciated all sides of me, right? Like that I've never been this one trick pony, man. Like I could always write and say something thoughtful and beneath the surface, but understood like, hey man, like, yeah, bro, like this battle shit ain't nothing but playing the dozens, right? It's Jonin. That's what we call it where I'm from, Jonin. Like I got jokes. I've always had jokes. So putting it in rap form is always fun. You know what I mean? And it's a different skill. It still requires a lot of wit and all these other things. You know what I mean? Yo, Substantial, when are you coming back to Sacramento, California to perform? Not sure. Definitely looking to do something next year, because next year is the 25th anniversary of To This Union a Son Was Born. So yeah, I'll definitely be out there sometime next year. I don't know if it's going to be in Sacramento specifically, but I'll do my best to bare minimum try to get close by. All right, that's the concession I'll get you. You know what I mean? Joshua says, honest question. When did the shift happen to where skill wasn't the main thing needed to be him? I'm 32, so I'm pretty sure I missed it. The music and folks I rock with is so different than my peers. I think I want to say like mid to late 90s is when I remember really seeing the shift happen. Because I remember Hammer being like the top selling artist at one point, but because dudes like his peers viewed him as corny, or because he was mainstream viewed him as a sellout, he still didn't get the respect like outside of course his region, because he did so much for his community. You know what I mean? Hammer don't get enough love for him putting people on and really looking out for his folks. And keep it a buck with you, man. I was a Hammer fan back then because I was a dancer, or I wanted to be a dancer at one point in time more than I wanted to be a rapper. So I like Hammer. Like I didn't think he was the best rapper, but like back then I was dancing all the time. So he made some of the most danceable music coming out in hip hop. So for me, this shit was dope. And a big part of the culture was rocking parties, and that stuff rocked parties. So he was doing what he wanted to do, and I thought he did a good job doing it. But for the folks who were more focused on the lyrical skill, like lyrical ability and punchlines, wordplay, and stuff like that, he wasn't it. And so he didn't get a lot of love from his peers. And that's why, like, when the Hip Hop 50 rolled around and people were like, yo, some people, not all, were like, yo, where's Hammer? And Hammer came out in the interview, was just like, yeah, man, some of these fake ass people hit me up asking me to be a part of this stuff, and I passed up on it because I'm like, yo, nah, y'all ain't rock with me then, so don't rock with me now. And so yeah, man, but I feel like there was a shift in the late 90s where, like, as it became more and more about kind of flexing like your money, like, you know, and like rapping about, I mean, people have always rapped about getting money and being successful, but at some point in time, like, you know, and whether this could be attributed to like Bad Boy and people around that time, I feel like that was the beginning of the shift. You know, because like prior, like even some of the folks who came in with Bad Boy, like they were nice. You know what I mean? Like Biggie was ridiculous. Mace getting with Bad Boy, Mace got busy. But then they started making this stuff more polished, making it in a particular way. And like the stuff went from being like more street in the beginning when it came into like making it more like more flashy, more fashionable, more whatever, like more palatable, right? And you know, and they were moving units. So then you just see this shift in the culture, like, oh, this is what we need to be doing if we wanna make money doing this, right? Get radio play, etc. Yo, what's up? You're a legend. I found you and your crew through Nujabes. Man, I appreciate it, family. Happy you're here. Welcome. Dreadistan is coming out. Yeah, man. I need to hear you work with Static Selector in the future. Yeah, I mean, I've never met him, and so I've definitely heard some beats from Static Selector that I like, but I'm just keeping it a buck with you. Like the likelihood it'll happen like from like me reaching out, that's probably not. It's not that I don't do that. I typically I'm at a place now where I'm only really working with people I know. You know what I mean? And so like if we met and then we kind of hit it off and stuff like that, I'm down. But like people I can't see, who I ain't really, I think Millen's probably the only recent example of me genuinely reaching out to somebody like, yo, your stuff's, but the only reason why I took the next steps to really reach out to Millen when I just randomly heard his stuff was because I found out he was in Maryland. So when I found out he was local, I was like, oh, say less. So then we linked up, we talked, we worked on the joint, like we spent like hours on the phone. Like it took a lot of other things before we got to that, like work on a song point. So just something to know about me. If y'all see me not working with people, it's likely because either I don't know them, it's not always because like I ain't feeling it or something like that. It's just really like I don't know them. And so yeah, man, he's dope though. Shout out to Static Selector. I know everyone has been talking about Alchemist at the moment, but I gravitate toward those boom bap productions like Static Selector and DJ Premier. Yeah, man. Shout out to both. Like, I forever love boom bap. Boom bap's dope. Speaking of Hammer, have you ever heard the story about how dangerous he was back in the day, Sub? Yeah, man, I love the video of anytime Hammer comes up in a Redman interview, it is the funniest stuff ever. He was like, oh no, hello, Mr. Hammer, sir. Like in terms of like what his experience was and realizing that Hammer was like a real dude. And when Redman made that interlude, like, basically saying like, oh, Hammer ain't shit. He ain't shit. His mama ain't shit. He ain't nobody shit. Like, he was just like clowning. And then then Hammer and them pulled up on him. And he realized like real quick, oh, this dude ain't no joke. Like he a real live street dude. and he basically was just like, yeah, man, I don't play with people talking about my mama. You know what I mean? And, for some people, like, oh, man, it ain't that serious. I'm like, nah, for some people it is. For some people it is. Bro, I remember hanging out with Marcus D on tour, and I, like, had this funny joke about a particular rapper, and that rapper was from a city that we were about to tour. And I remember, like, I was about to tweet it out, and then I was like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, oh, man, that shit's hilarious. You should post. I'm like, nah, bro. Because it's like people really out here. You know what I mean? And more importantly, I'm really out here. I ain't out here on some street shit, but I'm not walking out here scared. Like, I'm showing up to a lot of my shows by myself, right? Maybe with one or two other people. A lot of the things I show up with my family. So I'm not out here carrying certain energy and stuff like that. And that's why, like, you occasionally hear some folks that like make some jokes and stuff, like they made similar jokes about Common or whatever, right? Forgetting like where dudes are from. Like, hey, bro, like, yeah, peace, positivity, all the good things in life. But make no mistake, back in the corner and I got to do some shit, like, I wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time. I just don't lead with that. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean I ain't from that. And it doesn't mean that like I ain't surrounded by family and people who love me, who really get down like that, right? But that's not the card I play. That's not the card. That's not what I lead with. You know what I mean? Because that's not all of who I am. So I get it when dudes be out here like, nah, bro, like I don't play. I don't play with people saying little slick shit about my family. I don't play with people saying shit about me, right? Like, yeah, man. Like I could tell you some stories, but we say that for another time, guy. I gotta wrap up. But yeah, man. I've noticed that you, Shingo, too, Sight Star, Funky DL, and Marcus D are in a lot of each other's albums. Y'all seem tight as hell. How often were you collaborating with them? Yeah, I would say of the people you listed, the people I'm tightest with, like Marcus first, and then maybe Funky DL second. Shingo and I, like we talk and communicate maybe more than me and Funky DL, but like me and DL have kind of had more like time in the past where it's like us just chilling and just talking as homies and stuff. So maybe a little closer to or a lot closer to DL than I am Shingo. Sice is the one I probably talked to the least because I know he's taking he took a hiatus for a minute. But at one point, I talked to him a couple times a year, but I haven't talked to him maybe in a few years now. I think the most recent interaction was just online. No love lost or anything. It's just like, yeah, like just being real. I didn't meet, I met DL in passing in Japan. Like, you know, that's why we had a project called We Met in Tokyo. And then like Marcus and I met '07 via MySpace. We started talking, and before we finally met in person when I was touring with Cunning Linguist. But the truth of the matter is, most of us didn't become closer until Nujabes Best passed away. A lot of us didn't see each other or know each other until Nujabes Best passed away, and we started doing the tributes. And so we became tighter through that loss. You know what I mean? The unfortunate thing I'll say about what you notice, like with us collaborating and being on each other's projects, a lot of what you saw was an effort for us to bring the fans, the audience together, the people who all knew us individually and what we did with Nujabes. The goal was to bring a lot of that audience together to check out like what we were doing. But the truth of the matter is, there's some people who loved it, love these collabs. And there's a lot who, because Nujabes isn't involved, they just don't go check for it. They don't really listen to much in that particular lane that is like, you know, that's new, right? Like they lean on the old stuff so much. And it's sad because they're missing a lot of great, like, new stuff. Like, in my opinion, stuff that's better than a lot of the old stuff. But, you know, it's all subjective, man. And so, yeah, I mean, like, you know, full disclosure, me, Sice, DL, and Marcus D were literally talking about doing a whole project together. But when we put out Blind and Light, and like it kind of had, like, it was a combination of, it was difficult to kind of get on the same page with certain things. And then when we released Blind and Light, and Blind and Light kind of, it got like the people who heard it loved it. But like so many people in the scene, like just really didn't, they just kind of slept on it. And it's kind of disappointing because in our eyes, we're like, if our solo stuff is doing certain numbers, then when we all come together, one would think like this should technically be doing better than some of the other things, especially because people ask us about why don't we do more stuff together all the time. So then we do it, and it wasn't always like, you know, people just didn't always run to it, and so, you know, it was disappointing. But in those moments, artists like take a step back to look at it. It's like, yo, does it make sense to put a lot of energy here when I could just focus on my stuff? You know what I mean? So, you know, it is what it is. Night on the Town is one of my favorite songs because of so many of you were on it. Yo, love that joint. Performed it a lot when we were in China, and I perform it on the road all the time. But yeah, man, salute to the homies, man. All killed it. You're right about the shift happening in the mid to late 90s. You also had the Telecommunications Act being signed, which loosened media ownership rules and consolidation of media outlets. Huge fact. Just ask Third Base what happened when they messed with Hammer. Yeah, straight up. If you know, you know. What's your opinion on the whole Kendrick versus Drake thing? Hey, man, I'm a Kendrick fan, so I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, it's one of those things where, be clear, like, I didn't love it because I hate Drake. Like, you know, one of the things I did early in the battle was check to see how much of Drake's music I had saved in my library. And I probably had more of Drake's music saved in my library than I think the average fan would think. And it's because, yo, when he makes good music, he makes good music. Whether it's your cup of tea or not, like, we ain't got to debate semantics. But I think people love to talk about like mainstream stuff and just kind of drag the most successful artists, because in the beginning, when they're on the come up, it's cool to like what they're doing, right? Because it's like you're in the know. But then when they become the biggest like in the world, or amongst the biggest in the world, it also becomes cool to hate on them. And that is true in everything, whether we're talking about sports, music, you name it. Once something goes from being the underdog to the most popular thing, it's only a matter of time before the hate comes. And so, so Drake absolutely had a target on his back for a very long time. One could argue though, like that he kind of asked for it, right? So for me, it wasn't about hating Drake. It was more about like, yo, Kendrick really put his foot down. Was just like, yeah, I don't mess with you no more, man. And I think I need to let all y'all know, because I think what happens sometimes with the conscious artist or the artist that's trying to do more than just kind of make music for music's sake is at some point in time, even if they're from the streets, people start they start trying to say these are like the key words that you oftentimes get heard associated with these type of artists. J. Cole is a part of this too. Their stuff is called boring, right? They are like, people try to play them like they're soft, right? They do all of these things to quietly kind of disrespect where their skill actually is, and they start talking about other things to make like the skill thing irrelevant. And I love that Kendrick was just came out and was just like, man, fuck your big three, nigga. It's just big me. When I woke up that morning, heard that verse, there was a part of me like, yes. The evil dark stand was just like, yes, yes. Because, bro, it's something I think that every great lyricist slash rapper who's trying to make music that for the most part is on a higher vibration and really doesn't exploit all the negative shit that's easy to do. Like, you're trying to give people more, and Kendrick gave people Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and made a lot of like music that was daring to make, fam, like really like addressing his failures, his struggles and stuff in his personal life, and really opening up about therapy. Like, he was being really vulnerable. And then people, and like I'm looking at the shit people saying online, and it's largely because this shit ain't party music, right? Like, and so it was a lot of slick stuff being said, and people questioning like where he's at in the world. And even when I would talk to some young people early in the battle and get their take on it, they trying to play the numbers game and stuff like that. I was like, first of all, we just talking skill. Second of all, it's important to point out that Kendrick wasn't trying to be the biggest artist in the world, and he's still amongst the biggest artists in the world. That's an important fact that I think gets overlooked. So imagine when he made the shift, when he decides to make the shift. This is what I said to him. I was like, if he decides to make the shift, like, you know what? I want to be the biggest rapper in the world, and I don't care whose head I got to take to do it. And so, so when he decided to do that, I was like, the world needs to see this. A lot of people was like, oh, like, man, a lot of people I respect in the business were talking about why they didn't want to see it. But as the dude who sees a very minute version of that type of disrespect addressed to me, and also like seeing it like with bigger artists too, you seen it with Common. I can keep going down a list of artists that people try to play them like this. I love seeing it because it's like, bro, because y'all motherfuckers need to know, like y'all need to know you're not capable of doing what we do. And understand, like, we are not making, like, fam, I'm not out here trying to be a pop star, right? I'm not out here trying to make this bubblegum bullshit. That ain't how I want to feed people's spirits. I'm trying to get them more, right? I do give them more. But please believe, you want to come over here with that bullshit, like you can't get these bars, bro. Come on, bro. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. Because I do this for real. So like, so seeing Kendrick being like, hey man, bro, don't play with me, man. Don't play with me, man. Man, I will fuck everybody up here, bro. Stop playing with me, bro. Like, yeah, positivity. I love my family, love my kids, but keep playing with me, bro. Keep playing. So for that reason, that was a long ass answer to your question. So I loved it for all of that, because people need to get checked sometimes, because they think it's a game and they think they playing with the wrong ones. And so I'm like, I'm listening to people talk. I'm like, hey fam, people trying to talk to me about it and debate all this stuff. I was like, bro, you don't know enough about rap to be having this conversation with me and trying to convince me of something. Like, I'm telling you I told dudes, it's like, oh, no, what was it? When were we all at the crib? This is like 2010, 2011. We all at my crib in Baltimore. I think Section 80 just came out. And I told dudes in the crib, I was like, yo, this dude's the future. He about to run this whole shit. And yo, like dudes almost laughed me out my own house. And like some of the stuff folks was saying was wild. Like it was the low-key disrespect that was coming from some of my peers was wild. And so at some point I checked them. I was like, hey man, all due respect, last I checked, I'm the only one in here who really does this shit. And one of my mans who was there, he raps, but he ain't doing it on the level I'm doing it. He got in his feelings. I was like, bro, I don't need to repeat myself, but if you want me to say it again, it's like I meant what I said. There's no one in here that is actively doing what I'm doing in the music industry. So yeah, I may not be this big mainstream joint and not a millionaire and stuff like that, but it's like, fam, I've made a career out of doing this, even with being the lesser known dude. Still 20 plus countries all over the world, 6 figures doing this as an independent artist. It was like, bro, I'm doing better than people out here with government jobs, doing this shit on my own terms. So I might know something about this shit. And I'm trying to tell y'all, he got all the right things. He's checking all the right boxes artistically. And then from a business standpoint, he's aligned with Dre, whose track record in terms of taking some of the best talent we've seen in hip hop and putting them on the next level. I'm like, come on, bro. Stop playing. Stop playing. What are we talking about right now? You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts. Anyway, I was hoping my super chat would lead to others, but hopefully next time. All good, fam. Blinding Light was amazing. Still performing. I still love it. Yo, what's up, guy? I'm assuming you saying you got to go. Peace, Vincent. All right. Hey, if it's meant to be, they'll go. They'll get to listen to the journey after like it's the holidays. There you go. Me, Sice, DL, and Marcus, a perfect comedy. You know what I mean? For real, Joshua, one of Stan's best collaborations, period. Thank you, fam. Thank you for putting Marcus in there. Do you know of the former Canadian group specifics? Yeah, I don't know them personally, but I know their music. I've heard a couple of their joints I like too. And do you keep in contact? Never met them, but I do got a homie who's talked to them a few times. There's no going back from the bar. Rapping like you trying to free the slaves. Like, bro, stupidest shit he could have said. Stupidest shit he could have said. You rapping like you trying to free the slaves. I'm like, what the fuck is bad about that? Are you saying that as an insult? That's like that's the dumbest like when I heard that, I was like, man, bro, you so lost. You so lost. Bro, you were lost. When I get my money right, I'm definitely send you something. Hey man, I appreciate you, family. Evil Dark Stand. Say that again about positive lyricists for those in the back. Yo, straight up, man, like they act like we can't handle like most of these people, right? And then what's funny is some of the people they praise the most, when we meet those folks and we talk behind the scenes, they oftentimes know how savage and how dope these artists really are. Come on, yo. Ice Cube was one of my favorite rappers back in the day. When him and Common had the battle, and people just kind of thought like it wasn't going to go well for Common because we saw what Cube did to NWA. But it's important to remember Cube was arguably the most conscious of the NWA folks, and he was definitely the most lyrically superior, right? So he made light work of them. People liked Ren because Ren was raw, but Ren was never more lyrical than Cube. You know what I mean? And so yeah, they ain't had nothing for Cube. And Cube just wiped the floor with them. I mean, he had one of the members, two of the members he was writing rhymes for. So like between him and Ren, they were writing for two of the other members. So what the fuck were they going to do with Cube? But yo, Common different. Common's different. One, he came up battling, freestyling. Two, he's a former gang member. So he's from the south side of Chicago. Ain't shit sweet, bro. He's a good kid in a mad city, bro. You know what I'm saying? There's some of the nicest to ever do it are dudes who come up from rough neighborhoods, but are good people, trying to navigate rough situations, but they understand how to make it through here, and they've always been sharp. You got to be sharp in order to survive out here, bro. You know what I mean? You got to be smart enough on how to get through the school situation, navigate the day-to-day, but also have the street smarts to navigate the streets and get your ass home safe every day. You know what I mean? So, like, it requires a certain level of intelligence to coexist in those spaces, right? Like, this ain't for everybody. Most people don't. Most people get in those situations and they conform because they realize their safety in just trying to be like these dudes. But to be a person like that, who's amongst that and being like, nah, I ain't doing that. Like, yo, it takes a certain type of resolve out the gate. You're different. And then if you really tap into like how great you can be, there's no wonder that these dudes oftentimes excel and go way past a lot of their peers, right? You seeing it with Jid. Come on, man. Look at JID, bro. Like, this dude ain't too many people getting on songs with Eminem, and I'm like, hey, bro. Yeah, yo, that joint that Jid and Eminem did, like, Jid, bro. Jid was just confirming what I already know. Like, yo, you are no slouch, sir. That dude's ridiculous, man. But when Cuban, going back to Cuban Common, this dude, come on, bro. The line I love quoting from Common in that battle, he said, every time you come out, Joe, I'ma talk about you till you let that bitch in you walk about you. Like, God, bro. Listen, the bitch in you is maybe one of the hardest diss tracks of all time that doesn't come up enough. And that's partly because Common made it. It's not because it's not as hard as Hit 'Em Up and all these other joints. Common ain't screaming. Common ain't on some tough guy shit. He was like, bro, he just out rhyming him. He was like, you ain't got no choice but to fight, because none of you motherfuckers got a chance on the mic. Like, bro, so this nigga with an attitude named Cube stepped to the calm with a few. What the fuck I look like dissing a whole coast? You ain't made shit dope since America's Most. Hey, bro, them lyrics still hard. Like, God, yeah. If you don't know that song, bro, and Pete Rock produced it, and what's dope too is it don't sound like it's trying. He ain't go in there and be like, let me make this hard ass song like with the hardest beat ever. He basically got some chill type of joint and just went in there and just walked his ass down. That's a sports reference. Like, somebody thought they were about to get to the end zone and you just walking them down. Boogeyman shit. Hey, bro, I live for it. I live for it because every now and then people need to be reminded. They need to be reminded. I'm choosing to be positive. I'm choosing to be kind. I'm choosing not to promote certain things, but I will not tolerate your disrespect. And now you need to be taught a lesson. You need to be taught a lesson. And that's okay, because I got time. I got time. I'll gladly teach your ass. You know what I mean? So, yeah, bro, like those capable of doing that, I encourage it because people need to be reminded sometimes. All right. Hey, Sean, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, fam. Does that mean we're going to get Substantial's Kendrick Lamar? Hey, man, look, I'm over here minding my business, but God forbid, you know, I'm definitely, fun fact, I ain't gonna call the artist out by name, but back in the day, me and E-Fam, we actually did a diss track for this artist and his crew, and we never released it because, you know, like there was some other stuff that happened behind the scenes that I guess, I don't know if it was resolved, but like basically to diffuse the joint, and so we chose not to. But like in that situation, like that track, like, yeah, bro, we went in on these folks. And then two, it was one of those weird things where, like, again, this is, you know, I'm a dude from Maryland in New York, but by this time, a good amount of folks that I knew from the DMV had moved to New York. So a lot of who I was hanging with outside of the few Brooklyn folks I hung with a lot were from my hometown. Like a lot of my UV crew were living And we're living in New York around this time. So so one of the days after this dude was saying slick stuff online, because there was a part of me that it took a minute to kind of adjust to the whole like people saying things on record and then not turning into things on like off a record, like just kind of because like some of the stuff the dude was saying was like wow, disrespectful. So when I saw him in person, I had to calm myself because like everything in me was like, yo, I'm about to, nah. And so I'm talking to myself, and then my man hit me. He's like, yo, who you talking about? I was like, nah, bro, it's nothing. He's like, wait, that dude over, like, y'all got a problem? Like, he's like, this dude over here, you got a problem? So my man started getting loud. Homeboy, this rapper who we had this beef with, he overhears my man escalating and then sees my man looking and pointing at him. And then keep in mind, we just coming out of meeting. We're like, bro, we 10 deep. Right, like mostly people from where I'm from, but in New York, and I tapped my man. I was like, "Yo, chill the fuck out, bro. I'm good. I don't need any help with this." So homeboy kind of scurry off. Not years later, but like a couple months later, we doing a show, literally about 20 minutes from where he from, and he has a release party that night. After the show, we go to his release party, post up in the joint, post up in his joint. We in his town, partying at his joint. He started playing Antisocial, go to the back of the function. And so like, yeah, bro, like, yeah, man, I'm not out here actively looking for it. But, you know, I love writing. I love writing. I love it. Love it. So I don't mind a challenge. You know what I mean? It is what it is. All right. On that note, keep it pushing. Y'all with these questions, man. Get me doing the run-ons, doing what Stan does, you know. I tried the super chat, but it ended before my paycheck hit. I'm sorry, fam. No worries. We appreciate you, sis. I probably missed it, but any release date on the new Bop Alloy album? Recorded the second to last track. I think I just got one verse left, and then we're waiting on a chorus, but it's done. And then it's done. We don't have an official release date, but like the record's like 90+% done. The goal is to get the Kickstarter ready so we can at least launch the waiting page next week if all goes well. So we will see. All right. The common diss track to Cube might have been on a higher level than Nas Ether to Jay-Z. Yo, like it wasn't far. I mean, I like that beat. I like the beat better. You know what I mean? Ether wasn't my favorite beat. It just proved how dope Nas is, though. Like the argument I've made for Nas, people always talk about Nas's production after a certain part of his career. That became the common thing to say about him. It was like, yo, he just picks whack beats. And what I said at a barbershop one day just kind of shut down this Nas Jay-Z argument, or Nas being one of the greatest arguments amongst a lot of my peers. I was like, let's entertain your theory that Nas picks whack beats. And this is, I think, right around the time the collabs with Hit Boy just started coming out. And they was like, yeah, man, I like these joints because, you know, for the longest, man, he was just picking shitty beats. And I was like, bro, I got a lot of Nas's stuff like that I love. You know what I mean? Like, even when the beats were like just okay. But it's because he carries it. But I was like, let's entertain what you're saying. It was like, who's your top 5, right? And then they give their top 5. And then I say, which of the artists in your top 5 has whack beats? Or like mid beats, as the kids like to say. And then most of them in the barbershop were like, none of them. I was like, that's interesting, right? Now, let's entertain this theory that Nas picks whack beats. Now, he might not have been in y'all top 5, right? But the truth of the matter is he's in most people's top 5. Like most people who are serious about like the history of hip hop, the industry, all the things. There's not a lot, like Nas is in a lot of these lists, right? If the who's who of the industry put together lists today and put them out like based on hip hop's history, not just who's hot right now, Nas is in most of these lists and he's probably in the top 5 of over 50% of them. I don't think that's something we can even argue, right? Because literally they consider his first album the greatest in hip hop history, right? That is something that comes up damn near like a couple times a year, right? Like whole articles and documentaries and all of this stuff written about it, right? So again, let's entertain this idea that he picks weak beats compared to some of your other favorites. By default, that would maybe make him the greatest of all time. Because who else is in the great conversation who has a history of picking weak beats? That would have to mean that, yo, he maybe is a better writer than a good amount of the people who were in this conversation. And a more prolific writer, if he can stay that relevant to remain in most people's top 5, even when his beats weren't the best. Most people never consider that part of the conversation. You know what I mean? And again, Nas ain't even my favorite. Like, he's in my top 5, but I don't know if he's my favorite. You know what I mean? I love his stuff, but I think a lot of people don't think about that part of the argument. You know what I mean? Anyway, all right. Let's see. Oh yeah, Common is highly underrated. Super facts. Third Channel says, as soon as I tuned in, I knew I was going to love the message. Appreciate you, fam. Heading to engineering class. I'll be back later. Peace, Sean. Take care. All right. Are you a producer too? I'm curious if you've mixed or made any beats. Yes, I also produce. My last album, Adultish, if you haven't heard it yet, definitely check it out. Look, happen to be near the joint. If you haven't heard this album yet, check it out. I literally produced every track on here. Some of the stuff's some co-production credits in here too. But yeah, I produced everything on there. I got instrumental releases too that I've dropped, and I've mixed a lot of my music in the past as well. All right, thank you for the question. What are your thoughts on the current state of battle rapping? I honestly don't have a real opinion on it right now because I haven't been following as closely. But it's been interesting seeing it pop up a bit more and not more in the music industry space, and not leading to, like, you know, people being put in harm's way. So I'm all for that, like seeing like rappers beefing a little bit, not beefing, but like doing the back and forth joint, like what we saw with Joey Badass versus everybody. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, if it's producing tight bars and people stepping it up and stuff, like I love like Rayvon, like one of his early disses to Joey, that was crazy. That literally put him on my radar because I didn't know who he was before that. So yeah, man. So I'm loving seeing it in some spaces, you know what I mean? For sure. I hope no one foolish enough to try to even have a diss track about Stan. Whoever does, though, Stan will have that person start a Kids Bop career like MGK did for going against Eminem. Hey, man, listen, I ain't, you know. All right, I'm going to shut up. But yeah, anything's possible. No Turning Back 2.0 has such pointed lyrics, especially toward the end when you mentioned those who wanted to benefit from Nujabes after his passing. Yeah, man, yeah, it's one of those things, man. Like, it was wild just seeing a lot of what was happening. Like, I come from an era where people made a conscious effort to figure out their own sound, right? Their own voice, their own whatever. Yeah, early in my career, like most artists, you start like, well, not even just early in my career, when I first started writing, a lot of times you're trying to imitate or emulate like your favorites. But at some point in time, you pivot and you start to figure out what your own voice is and what it is you can do, right? And it just seems like we got to this space where people were so comfortable just copying, just trying to do exactly what he did. People used to send me literally examples of them remaking his beats to the point where it's like you could barely tell that they made it, like if it wasn't for like a hi-hat choice. Otherwise, it sounds just like the same thing. And you know, and I never hated on them for that, but it was just really like, yo, like I get it. I guess this is how you're expressing your love of this artist. But I would tell them oftentimes, it's like, yeah, but you got to figure out who you are outside of their influence. You know what I mean? Because this dude grew up in a different part of the world than you did and had very different experiences and is not the person that most of y'all think him to be because you didn't know him. You only really know what we tell you. So it's like you got to figure out who you are and how that informs your sound, right? And so So, I think at that point when I wrote that verse, it was just, I was in a place where it was like, yeah, I think I need to be a little more harsh in how I word this and not be so nice about it. You know what I mean? Because so many times, man, when we're communicating things, we're considering others' feelings and this, that, and the third. And I felt like at that point I had talked to more than enough people about like what I was noticing and how like it wasn't cool. And then you got people literally, that whole incident where like someone that uploaded the whole catalog and was monetizing it illegally and stuff. Like it was a lot of stuff that was happening around that time. And so, yeah, man. And then, it's the pressure of like being an artist that worked with them that has all this unreleased music and people being more interested in what y'all did in the past, which y'all decided not to release because you didn't feel like it was as good. People being more interested in the work behind you than what it is, like what your future is. And then also people just not really acknowledging how much his death played a role in like his music getting out there, because a lot of that stuff was dope, of course. But like I pointed out on one of my lives, was like, yo, like after Blessing It came out, like I think I had never performed it live until he passed away. And there was only one time ever that I did a show. And keep in mind, I performed like a couple hundred times a year, you know what I mean? Or at least 100 times officially a year, not including guesting on other people's shows. And like I had only I think 2007 was like the only time after Blessing It came out that anyone had ever asked me, why didn't I do Blessing It? Right? Because the song really wasn't what it became later on after he passed. It didn't, like, it did numbers when it was released, but it wasn't, his death like changed a lot of things. And I don't think the public is always really aware of like the story that's kind of like, I don't think people are really aware of, or sometimes, or for lack of a better word, just really honest about like, about like the role that death and loss plays in like people's catalog, right? And then some of the revisionist history that kind of comes along with that, because there are sometimes people who are disrespectful to me and try to downplay what I've done outside of him, not realizing that like some of my biggest solo records, like came after I worked with him, and largely didn't come like because people like knew the old stuff. Like there's other records of mine that were entry points for a lot of people before he passed. Like Sacrifice to this day is probably like my most publicized record, like MTV, VH1, BET, a lot of other major outlets, front page of MySpace 2 different times, and like all of this other stuff that happened at the time. And this is before like Nujabes Best became super, super big. Because even when Samurai Champloo came out, Samurai Champloo wasn't a hit show. Like it was like a kind of if you know type of show. And so it did impact like some people knowing me and stuff like that. But how people act now is not how people were acting then. Like it was like when people rolled up on me and knew who Nujabes Best was outside of Japan, it was often surprising to me and people around me, because we knew that outside of like there, people just didn't know. And so this ain't trying to tarnish legacy and stuff like that. And one time, man, someone tried to come at me when I was explaining this. I was like, hey, bro, I was like, first off, chill the fuck out, because one, I actually knew him. So don't act like you care more about this person that you didn't know than I did. Right? Let's start there, number one. So wipe your feet before you come in my house. You don't know what the fuck you talk about. And I'm trying to tell you as somebody who was there. So it's not disrespect. It's just truth. It's truth. And people don't want to fully, and now, and y'all know, man, I try not to go out of my way to talk about this stuff all the time. It just comes up a lot, and, I don't shy away from it. But that's the truth of the matter. And it's like, it became bigger over time, and his death played a huge role in how big it became. Shout out to the missus. She in here reminding me, I know that I need to get off. I love you, Mrs. Robinson. I thank you for the heads up on lunchtime. Hey, that's my cue, y'all. Let me just make sure I ain't missed nothing. Never understood how biting became the norm in rap music. I remember when everyone tried so hard to be their own lyricist / rapper. You got clown back in the day for biting, 1000%. What really put air into the sails of trying to sound like others is SoundCloud. The era of rapping changed the game for better or for worse. Yo, yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. Like, you know, it's like even this whole idea of like type beats, right? Like blah, blah, blah type beat, J. Cole type beat, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you know, like we started to really mimic like what other people were doing instead of finding our own voice. I gravitated towards your work because it's trying to express itself, not just to make the next viral song, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. But yo, on that note, I'm out of here. Mrs. Threw up the flag, so I got to go ahead and report to lunchtime. I greatly appreciate you, Mrs. Robinson. Hey, man, shout out to everyone who stuck around today. This was supposed to be a short joint, and then y'all hit me with them questions, and here we are 2 hours later. I love y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. A lot of new music on the horizon. I'll keep y'all posted. Thank y'all, man, for just being great and being super supportive. I meant everything I said earlier in the show about y'all taking care of yourselves and really being mindful of what we're taking in right now. And just, man, all of us trying to do better as a global community and really, you know, exercise more discernment and the information being shared with us and us unnecessarily sharing opinions that people aren't asking you for, specifically if you're not actually putting real work in the world to make your community a bit better, make it safer for everybody there, and just doing the work day to day to improve upon yourself and improve those around you, man. So like, y'all just, you know, take time to really, really reflect on what you're seeing and what's the best path forward and how you're contributing to the world in the best ways possible. You know what I mean? So on that note, man, I'm gonna get out of here. Love y'all. Take care. I'll see you soon. Talk to you sooner. Peace. Oh, it's time for my youngest daughter's favorite part of the show, our little closeout song. Sorry in advance. Who made it to the end? Who made it to the end? You made it to the end. Who made it to the end? Who made it to the end? You made it to the end. Yo, 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 yo. Who made it to the end? You made it to the end. Who made it to the end? You made it to the end. Who made it to the end? You made it to the end. Yo, 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 yo. Subscribe, like, do whatever you like. Stay subscribed, like, do whatever you like. That's right.